will continue from where we left off. Secretary General.
Ministerial statements.
The following ministers have given notice to make ministerial statements under Standing Order 40. The Minister for Health and Medical Services, Minister for Education, Heritage and Arts, Minister for Local Government, Housing, Environment, Infrastructure and Transport, and Minister for Industry, Trade and Tourism. Each minister may speak up to 20 minutes. After each minister, I will then invite the Leader of Opposition or her designate to speak on the statement for no more than 5 minutes. There will also be a response from the Leader of the LFP or his designate to also speak for 5 minutes. There will be no other debate. I now call on the Minister for Health and Medical Services to deliver her statement.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, before I begin with my presentation, I ask this august House and the nation to pray for the safe rescue of our doctor from Garani Health Centre and the villagers who are still missing at sea since Sunday. And as the search and rescue continues, let us pray for their safe return, and we remember their families in this difficult time. That's what happens, Madam Speaker. Some people take sensitive issues very lightheartedly. Anyways, Madam Speaker, we know that health is a global issue and there are a lot of challenges associated with it, and of course a very sensitive one as it deals with life and death situation. It deals with emotions of people and issues of great concern and controversy at times as well. Issues related to infrastructure, medicine, drug shortage and stockouts, human resources, service delivery have existed for decades, and many at times politicizing these issues and making irrational judgments and remarks without realizing that there is no quick fix to the issues such as the one we are dealing with now can be harmful. Madam Speaker, it takes a lot of courage and commitment to look at practical solutions, strategic measures to address the challenges, to deliver the best services to the people we are mandated to serve. Having said that, Madam Speaker, I addressed this August House earlier on the free medicine program and the appropriate steps that was taken to enhance the successful implementation of this program, an initiative of the Fijian government and a manifesto item of the Fiji First government. I stand again to assure the House that the free medicine program has been fully implemented in partnership with our local private pharmacies, and I ask every Fijian who qualifies for this program to take advantage. Madam Speaker, this afternoon I also rise to address the issues of shortages and stockouts of medicines in our hospitals, which has been a persistent problem and a challenge for our health system for many, many years. These are symptoms of bigger underlying problems that have been existing for a long, long time, but have either been ignored or addressed inappropriately. Madam Speaker, I wish to inform this House that Fiji is not alone in this sometimes struggling to maintain adequate supplies of medicines around our facilities. The World Health Organization reports that major hospitals in developed countries such as the United States, Canada and Australia also experience frequent shortages and stockouts of medicines, especially injectable drugs. The United States of America reported that more than 280 medicines were out of stock at some time in 2012. In Australia, the government's Therapeutic Products Agency operates a medicine shortage information initiative which provides online information about prescriptions and medicine shortages. I'm informed that as of last night, the site listed 194 current shortages, the oldest of which has lasted for more than a year. WHO has also stated that shortages of medicines are a global problem and causes are not new. They include manufacturing issues, increased global demand, and various supply chain disruptions. Those factors impact on Fiji just as they do to the rest of the world. Madam Speaker, secondly, we need to realize that we are a small, remote island nation. It takes months for deliveries of medicines to reach our shores, and at times when manufacturers and wholesalers' stocks are low, they may well give priority to orders placed by larger, wealthier countries. That may not appear to be fair, but that is a commercial reality. Madam Speaker, despite those truly global challenges, we are committed to ensuring that Fijians enjoy the best possible access to essential medicines, and in doing so, we are improving our pharmaceutical procurement and supply systems. I wish to also make it clear that the problems we face today in regards to drugs and consumable stockouts and shortages are issues that are not new. It has existed for decades. These are problems that we are fixing and not problems that we are ignoring. The challenges related to stockouts cannot and will not be resolved overnight, but they are challenges that the Ministry is seeking to address with energy and enthusiasm. Madam Speaker, if I may, I would also like to explain to the House some key aspects of our pharmaceutical procurement and supply system. Each year, the Ministry of Health seeks tenders for almost 500 essential medicines. Of course, the list of available medicines are in thousands, but we are mandated to have 493 as part of the essential medicine list. The list is further divided into 3 categories: vitals, essentials, and non-essentials. Apart from these medicines, Madam Speaker, the Ministry also purchases 9 other medical product categories: vaccines, laboratory reagents, consumables, medical dressings, biomedical equipment, medical and surgical consumables, reproductive health commodities, dental materials, bedding, linen, and finally uniforms for our nurses. The lead time between placing an order for supplies and their arrival in Fiji is typically between 3 to 6 months. Most items come via sea, and only selected products and urgent orders come by air freight, which is several times more costly. And Speaker, stockouts typically occur when there is a sudden, unexpected increase in demand for a particular product. For example, an outbreak of infection in the hospital or in the wider community will often result in higher than expected utilization of medical supplies. For the procurement of medicines, for example, Madam Speaker, the Ministry has to ensure that the medicines provided through the health facilities are safe, effective, and good quality. Compromised quality or substandard medicines would mean compromising the health and the safety of our patients. Therefore, pre-qualification of manufacturers program takes place as part of our procurement process. Pre-qualification is a process of selecting manufacturers who meet acceptable quality standards criteria for producing quality and safe medicines. Not all manufacturers around the world are good manufacturers, and the Ministry processes of pre-qualification is our due diligence process to ensure medicines used by people are of acceptable quality, resulting in people getting better. Madam Speaker, the Ministry cannot go to any manufacturer to buy the medicine that are seen to be affordable unless the pre-qualification process is being fulfilled. The World Health Organization has called all countries to strengthen systems to counter counterfeit medicines that have been circulated in the market, and unfortunately, developing countries are victims of such unscrupulous activities. Ministry of Health has 99 pre-qualified manufacturers from India and other Asian countries to manufacture our medicines. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Health also has pre-qualified traders and distributors to ensure that they have capacities to provide the supply performance expected by the government. Traders are usually the go-between the manufacturers and the client and financial transaction requirements. For medicines, we have 13 traders who are awarded with the contract to supply medicine. Madam Speaker, there are quality assurance activities in our procurement processes to ensure that we get the best value for public taxpayers' fund and, most importantly, quality products for the health service. Madam Speaker, let me also elaborate that one of the challenges we encounter while procuring these medicines from our international suppliers is the delayed expected time of arrival of the medicines in terms of shipment delays, manufacturer delay, production issues, regulatory issues, and manufacturing countries concerning good manufacturing standards, and also there is a high demand for medicines globally. So you might question, why don't we hold more stock to ensure we can cope with such surges in demand? That's a very fair question and a superficially appealing suggestion. But Madam Speaker, the reality is that many medicines have a limited shelf life and cannot safely be used after a certain period of time. If we were to hold larger stocks as a buffer against peaks in demand, there would be a much greater risk of medicines going out of date and having to be disposed of, potentially wasting a great deal of money. Madam Speaker, our wastage rate, that is proportion of the medicines that we order, but which go out of date, is now just 2%. That is excellent. But it also means that stockouts are more common. We need to look again at where we strike a balance between reducing the cost of wasted medicines and increasing the risk of stockouts. Long lead times and the need to reduce wastage are just 2 examples of the complex issues that we face in seeking to ensure a reliable supply of medicines at a cost that our nation can afford. Madam Speaker, I have assured the House that I am committed to improving the pharmaceutical procurement and supply system. One fundamental weakness where change is already underway is the crucial area of human resources. Managing a complex procurement and supply operation requires highly skilled staff. In the past, the Ministry has treated this vital area as no different from any other, more routine administrative functions. In fact, it needs people with specialized skills who can oversee sophisticated business processes both centrally at the National Pharmaceutical Warehouse and at the hospital level, where stock of drugs and other items are held and made available to our patients and health professionals. Madam Speaker, we've already recruited more pharmacy assistants who will be able to better manage stocks at local level. We are also seeking to ensure that the job evaluation process, which is currently underway as part of the reform across the civil service, gives due recognition to the demands of the modern-day supply system. We need to offer levels of remunerations that are adequate to attract expert staff who might otherwise be tempted by similar opportunities in retail or other distribution industries. So looking more broadly, Madam Speaker, and again as further evidence of our commitment to tackle the persistent problem of shortages and stockouts, the Ministry of Health and Medical Services recently obtained support from Australian Government through DFET to appoint an expert in healthy supply chain management to review our system and provide a plan for its improvement. That plan was submitted in draft to me last week. It provides a clear basis on which we can begin to build a better system, and I wish to put on record my appreciation to DFET for the support. Madam Speaker, the draft plan contains almost 40 specific action points in areas such as information system and technology, purchasing and contract management, business processes, and organizational structure and management. Madam Speaker, the plan has only been with the Ministry for a few days now, and many of the details are still under review, as I've already indicated. But one area which demonstrates the extent to which the supply system has been neglected over many, many years is the information system and technology. Madam Speaker, as I stand here today, the purchasing, storage, and distribution of essential medicines throughout Fiji is being handled by a computer system which was installed in 2003 and has never subsequently been upgraded. What is more, the company that supplied the system has not supported it for the past 9 years, which means that any problems are not fixed and there is no guarantee of recovery from the large-scale failure. The computer system is so old that it is no longer fit for purpose, and staff are forced to adopt manual approaches for many key tasks. Needless to say, these processes are slow and prone to errors. A more up-to-date system would not only improve processes at our central warehouse, it would also support better management of stocks at the hospital level and ensure fewer shortages and stockouts across the system as a whole. Madam Speaker, the government will address the weaknesses that afflict our pharmaceutical procurement and supply system. As evidence, I can inform the House that during our recent visit to India, the Honourable Attorney General and I took the opportunity to see the demonstration of a state-of-art computerized supply system that is in use in India in some of the country's leading hospitals and health services. We're both impressed by what we saw, and I've asked that we give serious consideration to acquiring the system for use here in Fiji and take up the Indian government's offer of support and capacity building. At the same time, Madam Speaker, I recognize that this is a highly specialized field in which all of us are not experts, so we are going to take the Government of India's support and expert advice on how the system will be best suited for our country's need. Madam Speaker, the recent review has also highlighted the need to strengthen senior management and governance of the Fiji pharmaceutical and biomed services. While I wish to further acknowledge FPBS, their efforts and current leadership, I also note that they are being asked to undertake tasks that are beyond their levels of expertise. With that in mind, the Ministry is currently about to begin the process of recruiting a new, more senior officer who can provide the expert leadership that is needed. Madam Speaker, again, that demonstrates that we are taking action to sort out the supply system and reverse the effects of decades of neglect. Madam Speaker, making political capital out of the issue of pharmaceutical shortage and stockouts is inappropriate and will be very unhelpful to our people. The most basic review of international news reports conveys that shortages of medicine occur throughout the world. The stockout report list provided to me by Honourable Prasad is routinely produced for internal circulation as a tool to help our doctors at our facilities to plan their management of patients. Many of the drugs listed as out of stock have alternatives. To suggest it signals a crisis, risks causing unnecessary concern on the part of patients, and of course shows a lack of confidence in our doctors. I wish to conclude by again informing the House that we have focused on tackling the weaknesses in our pharmaceutical supply system from the first day of my office as a Minister for Health and Medical Services. Those weaknesses are a result of decades of neglect, as evidenced by inadequacies in the current computer system, and of course they will take time, it will take some time to resolve, but we are making progress every day. Madam Speaker, as a Minister, I will not settle for quick fixes which may offer short-term benefits, but merely serve to store up problems for the future. We will take a more methodological approach based on expert analysis and provide Fijians with lasting improvement. And Madam Speaker, if the members of the August House, especially on the other side, are not serious about making positive contributions, then they must be reminded again that health issues should not be negotiated from a power political point of view, but managed on the grounds of expert and technical knowledge. And that, Madam Speaker, I trust the House should agree and is the sensible way to proceed. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I now call on the Leader of the Opposition or her designate to speak in response.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First of all, I would like to thank the Minister for Health for delivering her ministerial statement on this topical issue. My wonder is why is there no mention of herbal medicine? Whether the Ministry of Health is serious about working on that, on the herbal medicine in our country. Madam Speaker, it is the responsibility of the Honourable Minister for Health to ensure that there is no shortage in supply of medicines and medical supplies in her own ministry, as well as the Fiji Pharmaceutical and Biomedical Services. A caring government or caring ministry or government is one that continuously addresses this issue because the lives of patients and all Fijians are important to them. Section 38 of the 2013 Constitution talks about the right to health, and the Honourable Minister and her ministry are mandated to provide the best health services for the people and ensure that no one is denied essential medical services. Madam Speaker, the maintenance of efficient public health system is largely dependent on having a robust supply chain management to eradicate delays and minimize stock outages. The Honourable Minister and her ministry should have regular follow-ups on all orders placed and charged for delays in supply. There is a need to review and improve the procurement process. Madam Speaker, for the effective and efficient services, this will ensure that there is no overstock or shortage of drugs in health centres and hospitals, as witnessed in the CWM and Valley Health Centres. The Honourable Minister should ensure that a valid contract is in place with all suppliers of medical supplies and equipment at all times, as recommended in the Auditor General's report. It was noted in the Auditor's report that the Fiji Pharmaceutical and Biomedical Services did not sign contract agreements with the supply of medicines and medical supplies, resulting in performance bond requirement not strictly adhered to. Madam Speaker, as I mentioned earlier, the lives of our Fijians is very important, and the Honourable Minister must in all ways and means ensure that the need for medicines and medical services are continuously addressed and processes and systems are strictly followed. Madam Speaker, the Honourable Minister for Health should also ensure that regular or periodic stock counts are taken on all medicines and medical supplies to ensure that there is enough supply in stock before the next order of supplies arrive. The Ministry must ensure that proper maintenance of records of drugs and consumable stock in the EPICOR system and stockers to prevent theft. It is also important for the Ministry to have regular discussions with the suppliers of medicines and medical supplies in order to resolve delays in supply, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, another reason for delays in supply of medicines and medical supplies is the delay of payment of invoices due to process issues by the Ministry of Health. It is again the responsibility of the Honourable Minister for Health to work with the Honourable Minister for Economy in trying to resolve this issue to ensure that there is no delay in payments to suppliers, leading to shortage in supplies of medicine to the general public. To conclude, Madam Speaker, the medicine procurement process and the free medicine scheme are a failure. According to the Consumer Council, citizens, consumers are always complaining about medicine unavailability or medicine shortage in health centers and hospitals all around Fiji. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I now call upon the leader of the National Federation Party, who is designated, to speak in response. Point of order.
Ms. Honorable Vande is referring to a audited report. Just wanted to ask which year he is referring to. Which year? Thank you.
Order. I now call on the designator of the leader of opposition to present his response.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to thank and acknowledge the Honourable Minister for Health in delivering a ministerial statement. And yes, it is an ongoing problem that we have been seeing. And this problem, the shortage of medicine and medical supplies in Fiji, in our hospitals, they need to be really looked at very properly. Madam Speaker, let me say that we are thoroughly disappointed with the way the whole procurement of medicine and medical supplies is done by the government of the day. You know, like many other issues affecting our nation, this government indeed is paying lip service to the fundamental issue of providing basic health care to our citizens in our health centers and public hospitals. I always hear that side, they say this is the precedented thing they have done. But this is the most precedented failure that we have seen in the government of the day in looking after the people that are unhealthy in this nation by providing medical services, medical supplies and medicine. Madam Speaker, 2 months ago, we highlighted just simply, they say unprecedented. Unprecedented. But this, what are we talking about?
Honourable Member,
Even in the...
Honourable Member, you don't have to respond to interjections.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, indeed, in the hospitals, they run out of gel, ECG gel. Many times stock run out. We have cars, we have vehicles. When the fuel runs dry, we go and refill it. In the same way, the pharmacy in the hospitals, they need to really refill their stock. It's an ongoing thing. It's not something new. It's not a one-off thing. So it is very, very important. And Madam Speaker, 2 months ago, we highlighted here in the shortage of chemicals used to process X-ray films. We're denying patients the right to get X-rayed and diagnosed. You know, this problem remains unresolved. And the government has to be reminded what the minister said in Parliament when this issue was raised by the Honourable Prem Singh on the 10th of February 2017. And what transpired in the last 2 months is relevant to what was said by the minister regarding the issue of medicine. And I will demonstrate how this will be another one of the same old story, the same fable. They call it NATO. Madam Speaker, no action, talk only. That's all. The Honourable Minister had said only wet film processing, which is processing a film after an X-ray is done, was not being conducted by dry film processing, and digital imaging were being conducted. She said wet film processing was being phased out, but chemicals would be arriving at the end of the month, which is February. February has come and gone. The situation hasn't changed. So this is something we really need to look at. And I just want to ask the minister, does the minister know what is happening in her ministry? I don't believe so. For example, despite her assurance to this Parliament 2 months ago, the major hospitals don't have chemicals to process X-ray films. Patients in Cape Coast to come to hospitals only to be told that they cannot get X-ray. Madam Speaker, last week a patient from Nandi who has a fractured thigh bone hired a taxi and came to the Lautoka hospital. On his designated day of review and X-ray, he was told X-ray could not be done and he had to pay $100 as taxi hire charges. Will the ministry compensate him because it is not his hospital? Will the ministry compensate him because it is not his fault that X-ray could not be done? I won't be distracted by this group of loudmouths. The hospital did not even have the decency and courtesy of informing that the X-ray service was out of order. Madam Speaker, I would simply say this. Again, last week, a woman who is a cancer patient was taken to review an X-ray at the CWM hospital. She could not be re-X-rayed because there were no chemicals to process the film. So this is the situation that is happening. So simply, we need to ask a question. In the Constitution, it is clearly provided for health and everything. And does the state have sufficient resources to provide access to health care for all? And if it has, then shortage and lack of medicine and medical supplies should not be an issue. And we ask what has happened to the allocation of $250,000 in the last two budgets to hire consultants to streamline procurement procedures of medical supplies. And if private pharmacies can be sufficiently stocked with the list of medicines being listed as being in the short and nil supply, why can't the Fiji Pharmaceutical Society, which has millions of dollars at its disposal, or that is what is shown in the budget, be in a state of preparedness at all times? Madam Speaker, we call on the government to look into this matter very properly. Instead of shouting, they should listen to us and go and fix the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. I did give you a few extra seconds because of the disruptions that you had to endure. But it's not a precedence. I now call on the Minister of Education, Heritage and Arts to deliver a statement.
Honourable Speaker, Honourable Prime Minister, Honourable Leader of Opposition, Honourable Members of Parliament. Madam Speaker, I wish to speak on the topic strengthening special and inclusive education sector. Madam Speaker, Sustainable Development Goal 4 of the 17 goal focuses on quality education and aims to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. This goal requires all nations to make efforts to improve access to all levels of schooling so that all students, including those with disabilities, can participate in quality educational opportunities. The government of the day's free education scheme inculcates educational movement at all levels, including special needs education and education for children with disabilities. Education for students with special needs has been in existence in Fiji since the 1960s, when some Catholic Church schools, such as St. Joseph's Secondary School and Maris Brothers High School, enroll students with disabilities. However, students with severe or less visible disabilities such as hearing impairment and intellectual disability were still getting left out. In 1967, Fiji's first special school, Hilton Special School, was established by the Fiji Crippled Children's Society to provide education to children with severe physical and hearing impairments. Mr. Speaker, the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which has been effective from 2008, is an international human rights treaty which promotes education for all, specifically guiding nations to support the inclusion of children with disability in mainstream schools alongside their peers so that they have the opportunity to participate in quality education in an equitable way. This convention has aided to change people's view towards people with disabilities. The people with disabilities are no longer only seen as those in need of charity, medical management and protection, but are now fully accepted as full and equal members of the society. Madam Speaker, Fiji has a long history of commitment to education of children with disabilities, and special and inclusive education has been a vital component of our current Fijian education movement. The 2030 Constitution of the Republic of Fiji includes significant provisions for persons with disabilities, including the right to reasonable access to all places, public transport and information, sign language, braille and other means of communication, reasonable access to necessary material, substances and devices relating to the person's disability, reasonable adaptation of buildings, practices and procedures to enable their full participation in society, and the effective realization of their rights. Furthermore, the Constitution enshrines the rights of every person to early childhood, primary, secondary and further education. In addition, the right to access to quality education in local schools is supported by various acts and captured in the Ministry of Education policy on effective implementation of special and inclusive education. Madam Speaker, substantial efforts of the Ministry of Education, Heritage and Arts, working together with development partners, including the Australian Aid Programme, has increased and improved educational options for children with disabilities. From 2015, our ministry has taken a number of transitional arrangements that was required to meet the critical needs of children with disability in schools. While special schools are a significant option for children with disabilities in Fiji, they are unable to support all children with disability. The special schools are located mainly in towns, areas, and thus, unless local schools are inclusive, access to education for children who live in the outer islands and rural areas is very limited, and therefore they often get left out. Including students with disabilities in mainstream schools, known as inclusive education, is therefore vital as it allows children to be educated within their neighborhood schools close to home and the schools that they would be attending if they did not have any disability. Madam Speaker, a child with disability is defined as one having sensory, physical, psychological, and intellectual impairment, which has caused a significant loss or reduction of the ability to participate in a regular educational program. The types and levels of impairment that we have in schools are diverse. And here are the ones prevalent in schools, to mention a few: physical impairment, hearing impairments, speech and language impairments, physical impairments, intellectual impairments, specific learning disability, behavioral difficulties, and emotional difficulties. In addition to the above, Madam Speaker, we also offer early intervention to young children with disabilities, generally aged from birth up to 6 years. These services are provided at the Hilton Early Intervention Center, managed under the Hilton Organization, an operating branch of the Fiji Crippled Children's Society. The earlier the children needs are identified and appropriate intervention measures taken, the better opportunity there is for the child to succeed in the next phase of learning. Madam Speaker, we have 17 special needs schools fully operational in Fiji. 15 special schools are classified under primary, 2 are classified under TEST, the vocational special school. Other than the 17 schools, 1 secondary school is fully fleshed out for the special needs, that is the Marist Champagne Institute, but classified under the secondary section, while Gospel School for Deaf is a private school. In addition, Madam Speaker, we have 25 inclusive schools where children with special needs are enrolled in and are being catered for. Out of these, 5 schools are supported by ACEP, the Australian Access to Quality Education Program, while 19 schools are supported by the Ministry of Education, Heritage and Arts under the Special Education Grant. The number of children in special needs who receive education in 2016 in the special schools was 1,025. And this year, the current roll has increased to 1,174 students, Madam Speaker. The increase has been as a result of Ministry of Education campaign to the parents for them to bring forward their children and enroll in these schools, both either if they're located close by in the urban area at the special schools or the designated inclusive schools, Madam Speaker, so that these children can be given or provided education as are other children. So, Madam Speaker, currently the roll is 1,174. Madam Speaker, apart from these special schools in the town area, let me list out the names of the 25 inclusive schools so that those who are listening out there may note this, and in case they need, they could go to these schools and take the children. Tagua District School, at the moment there are 23 students studying there with special needs. Ratu Litniara Primary School, 9 students studying there with special needs. Arya Samaj Primary in Neri, 20 students. South Tavini Primary, 9. Andi Moapa Primary 10, Kasavu Primary 2, Nasiani Primary 4, Mabulo Catholic 1, Marcelin Primary School 4, Namasau Methodist 12, Navakawau Catholic School 3, Nangali District School 3, Lobu Sangam School 1, Latoka Muslim Primary 1, Latoka Central Primary 1, Bulabo District 4, Sastri Memorial 2, Nakoromboya Primary 1, Rarawai FSC Primary 1, Ba Muslim Primary 1, Latoka Central College 4, Gospel High School 12, SBC 1, Neri SKM College 2, Mari Champagne Institute 124. Madam Speaker, Ministry of Education and Heritage Arts has been making efforts to strengthen inclusive education options for children with disabilities and their families across Fiji, while continuing to support the services that special schools provide children with particular and complex disabilities. The Ministry has been working with key stakeholders, particularly the parents, in getting them to fully involved in getting the children to school and supporting the educational development. Together with the Access to Quality Education program, the Special and Inclusive Education Unit of the Ministry of Education, Heritage and Arts has been working since 2012 to introduce and test a model of inclusive education that allows children with disabilities to attend schools closer to their home. This has involved the establishment of the 5 inclusive education demonstration schools. Madam Speaker, the IGEP and the Ministry of Education have implemented a number of activities to support children with disabilities access to quality education in these schools. These activities have contributed to an increasing number of children with disabilities participating in schools closer to their home. In 2012, 6 children with disabilities attended these schools. In 2016, there are 84. Experiences from these schools have positively reflected our Ministry's efforts to establish additional inclusive schools across the country, Madam Speaker. And we are continuously talking to school management to assist us in ensuring that the infrastructure is fine-tuned so that it assists us in providing accessibility to these children while we provide these schools with specialized teachers and the teaching aids. Madam Speaker, a review of the initial Ministry of Education Inclusive Education Policy was carried out in May 2015, where resources was highlighted as a priority need for improvement. The Ministry of Education, Heritage and Arts, through the endorsement of the Inclusive Education Policy in December 2016, is now committed to progressively meet the needs of all schools of special needs children, and will do so in active partnership with parents and the community and the management as well. Madam Speaker, having completed the review, the disability education stakeholders had worked together to prioritize key areas of action for special and inclusive education. There are 5 key priority areas of action, which includes the following: development and implementation of school-level strategies, Ministry of Education leadership in the development of policies, standards and guidelines to promote and institutionalize inclusive education. 3, ensuring a relevant and responsive curriculum. 4, strengthening training for teachers. 5, provision of appropriate support needed to enhance education and training of students with disabilities. Madam Speaker, the demand for financial support of special needs child is relatively high compared to normal children in schools. In the past years, up to 2015, the grant distribution was based on the disadvantage formula, and every special school received an average of 27 to 32,000 per year only. Madam Speaker, this amount was realistically insufficient to cater for the genuine expenses of the special schools, particularly when different support was needed for different disability type. In simpler terms, per child expense varied from one child to the other, and definitely it was not the same as what normal school would get the per capita grant. So, Madam Speaker, in 2015, based on the needs-based analysis and based on the submission, the Ministry of Finance had double the grant that was initially given to the special school. Initially, prior to 2015, the grant that was given to special schools was 550,000 for all the special schools. And in 2016, this grant was doubled by the Ministry of Economy to 1.1 million, Madam Speaker. Thus, Madam Speaker, from 2016, we've been providing them, the special schools, 1.1 million grant a boost that eased the hardship faced by the schools. Under this grant, an estimate of $500 per child was given relative to previously they used to receive $250 per child. Madam Speaker, we have also increased the salary allowance of our teacher aides from $3,000 per annum to $5,500 per annum, and sign language interpreters from $5,000 per annum to $7,000 per annum. We have given 4 new established positions to interpreters to ensure that students with hearing impairment in secondary schools receive proper lessons translated in sign language. We have also paid 2 Braille support workers to help Braille and de-Braille materials for students with visual impairments. Madam Speaker, the Disability Inclusive Education Handbook for Teachers is a resource created to enable teachers to improve inclusiveness of their schools and classrooms so that children with disabilities benefit from quality education alongside other children. The handbook contains general information about creating an inclusive school, information about a range of different types of disabilities, case studies, and a selection of reproducible resources. The handbook was designed for all schools in Fiji to assist them to be inclusive. The trained special education teachers find the handbook very useful, and this has been distributed widely to both special schools as well as inclusive schools. Madam Speaker, disability fact sheets have also been developed to complement the information given in the handbook. These user-friendly fact sheets are for information dissemination, highlighting the options available for education. Madam Speaker, we are also updating our information system database so that we can get detailed data on students via our information system so that we can take specific measures to deal with the students. Madam Speaker, we have implemented a number of activities to support children with disabilities access to quality education in inclusive schools, including the employment of teacher aides, training teachers, teacher aides in inclusive education, awareness raising sessions, regular mentoring and monitoring visits, renovation to schools to improve access and learning environment, provision of equipment such as Braille, white canes, desktop computers, JOS, the job access with speech software, sign language dictionaries, and water and sanitation activities. Madam Speaker, large-scale capacity building, capacity development programs have been undertaken in partnership with our 8 partners to train head teachers, inclusive teachers, district education officers, teachers, and teacher aides. A total of 381 officers have been trained in 2015 and 2016 from various education districts. Madam Speaker, as I speak, we have now a workshop for all teachers in special schools being undertaken now in Suva. Madam Speaker, we have saved the best for the life. We are not ensuring that we mark and observe key dates which was calendared internationally and specifically set aside for special needs and disability advocacy. During the last Parliament session, Madam Speaker, we celebrated on the 21st of March the World Down Syndrome Day, and on April 7, we observed the World Autism Awareness Day in Nandi, Madam Speaker. We also observed the International Day of Persons with Disabilities and other important dates to enshrine to every person that people with disabilities and special needs are important to national and global vision, and as such are all other people. We're also using other observances to reach out to people at large and make them aware of the diverse needs of people with disabilities and how they can contribute to support them. Madam Speaker, what we are emphasizing is that we should not concentrate on their disabilities. Let's concentrate on their abilities and how we can get them into the mainstream labor market, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Fijian education system is enjoying its golden era of progress and development. All children and Fijian people at large are given tremendous opportunities to access education and use it to attain lifelong success and prosperity. The inclusion of people with disabilities and special needs people into the mainstream educational goals, objectives, and vision is in era we are investing into and pursuing relentlessly, and we will continue to set high benchmarks of attainment. Madam Speaker, I wish to end with an emotional confession that came from a parent of a child with disability attending Fiji Vocational Technical Training Center. And let me quote, Rahul had learning disability. At the get-together at his home to celebrate his graduation diploma in IT, his father mentioned in his Thanksgiving speech how thankful his family is for all that Rahul has achieved. Rahul is currently doing his bachelor in IT, networking at FNU Nasinui campus. He is employed with visual electronics, works in the day and attends his class in the evening. He had just opened his own company, which goes by the name Rahul's IT Networking, specializing in PC upgrading, antivirus network, cabling, program installment, services, and many more. Madam Speaker, Rahul's parents have been given hope through the provision of education and the necessary resource support needed for the child to achieve his dreams. When children with special needs are appropriately supported, they live their dreams and in return become contributing members of society in a dignified and meaningful ways. Madam Speaker, our government will give the same support to all children with disabilities so that they can mainstream. Thank you. Thank you.
I now call on the Leader of Opposition or her designate to speak in response.
Madam Speaker, I wish to thank the Honourable Minister for Education for his statement on strengthening special and inclusive education in Fiji. I fully support the initiative by the Honourable Minister in this area. But I believe there are some areas of concern, Madam Speaker, that I would like to highlight here. Madam Speaker, from my own observation, it seems that the Honourable Minister for Education is not working according to plan. And he's coming up with new initiative. Yesterday one, today another one, tomorrow, every now and then. And the Honourable Minister is running the ministry like a circus. And clearly shows that there is no plan, Madam Speaker. Laid out. And the Honourable Minister is running the ministry like a circus, and there is no plan laid out, Madam Speaker, which should be aligned to the overall strategies of government. And that leads to inconsistent and failing initiatives, like the introduction of tablets to students. Let me ask the Honourable Minister, Madam Speaker, this question. Do you have a plan? If so, are you following those plans on your own, or are your plans aligned to government plans?
Honourable Member, please address the Chair.
Madam Speaker, I feel sorry for his loyal and hardworking ministry staff who at the end of the day have to come up for all these ad hoc, unplanned activities due to poor planning. The total expenditure in the Ministry of Education, Madam Speaker, in 2015, the budget showed an increase of expenditure of 21 million, which is about 5.6% compared to the 2014 budget. Madam Speaker, this increase in expenditure clearly shows very poor planning. Therefore, I urge the Honourable Minister for Education, Madam Speaker, to have more consultations with education stakeholders and his senior staff to assist in drawing up a workable plan. Although this initiative, Madam Speaker, is commendable, there is a lot of doubt on how it is to be implemented, especially its financial implications. In 2015, Madam Speaker, the Finance Ministry approved the writing off the sum of 49,000. And this indicates a lack of poor review, monitoring and supervision of reconciliations prepared by the Ministry for Education. And it is our hope that budget provisions will be utilized well and not written off. Madam Speaker, as I mentioned earlier, I fully support the idea of assisting and strengthening the special and inclusive education sector. But it is important to note that students with special needs, Madam Speaker, needs our attention, and they are not only found in urban areas, but also in remote areas as well. Networking with TKNA and provincial councils will be crucial if you want to identify these students for enrollment. The Honourable Minister for Education, Madam Speaker, must ensure that all schools must provide at least some space for students with special needs. In order to do that, Madam Speaker, I'm telling you now so that you can do it. The Honourable Minister must ensure that schools are provided with proper funding to facilitate the need for inclusion of students with special needs. All schools need to provide the proper facilities which are disabled friendly, Madam Speaker, and to address the need for inclusiveness, even though we have 17 schools and 25 inclusive schools at present. Madam Speaker, in order to further strengthen the sector of education, there is also a need to look at the teacher-student ratio of all special and inclusive schools, taking into consideration the situation
the teachers are facing in dealing with disabled students, depending on the severity of the disability. Madam Speaker, there is also need for the Honourable Minister to upgrade the salaries of teachers who deal with special students, considering the nature of the teaching that occurs in special and inclusive schools. We all understand that students with disabilities need special attention and extra care. This need extra commitment by the teachers thus justifies the need for salary upgrade. I have 1 more minute. The Honourable Minister should also consider providing in-service training for these teachers, Madam Speaker. And in conclusion, Madam Speaker, there must be a clear pathway in the curriculum for students to tertiary institutions and to employment opportunities later in life. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I now call upon the leader of the National Federation Party on his designate.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Minister for his statement. In fact, I wholeheartedly agree that the state must continue to support the 17 special schools and the 25 inclusive schools in the country. And I also acknowledge the fact that the budget was increased for special and inclusive schools. That is also commendable, Madam Speaker. These measures, as we are all aware, Madam Speaker, are necessities and state obligations now that we have ratified the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. And obviously it flows from the Constitution as well. However, Madam Speaker, these updates from the government are welcome, and I note that the Honourable Minister has a number of initiatives. I think that those are appropriate, and his attempts to ensure that the facilities available to this school is also welcome. I also think, Madam Speaker, that there is a necessity also for a timeline for when Fiji can hope to have not only equitable and accessible education for all, but also some targets by when education will be mainstreamed for our young ones, these special and inclusive schools. And I think Minister did indicate some positive steps that his ministry is taking. And Madam Speaker, it will be a great day for our students when they can welcome in their classrooms learners with special needs as one of their own, and certainly see in them or see them as equal to everyone else. I think that would be a great, and I think that is the dream that every country has, every society has, every parent of disability, children with disability has. So I think that is absolutely important. Madam Speaker, I'm also a reminder of the long-held concerns of persons with disabilities, that is that decisions or policies or strategies being made for them, but without them at the table. And I hope that the Minister will ensure that the people with disabilities, students with disabilities, and their parents are consulted at all times, and their views as to how they could be put into inclusive schools and how they could be dealt with in special schools is very, very important. Because without their support and without them participating in the whole process of making sure that children with disabilities actually perform and achieve outcomes, learning and teaching, especially learning outcomes, that will put them through and provide them with some sustainable future. Therefore, Madam Speaker, it is my sincere hope that the government, of course under the current Minister's leadership, when charting these inclusive education measures, firmly uphold that persons with disabilities are actually driving these initiatives and certainly advocating on their own, which to me, Madam Speaker, would tell a much more compelling truth. So in conclusion, Madam Speaker, I wholeheartedly support the initiatives and the plans and policies that the Ministry of Education has with respect to special education, special schools, and I would encourage the Minister to look at this whole idea of inclusive schools much more, with much more urgency and detail, so that we can achieve that in the shortest possible time. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, and I'll call on the Minister for Local Government, Housing and Environment, Infrastructure and Transport to deliver his statement.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, members of the Honourable House, I rise to inform this August House on the progress made by the Department of Local Government and Municipal Councils. But before I do that, I want to thank Honourable Prasad for the acknowledgement that he has just made on the government performance, unlike what Honourable Loera said. Madam Speaker, municipal councils in partnership with the Department of Local Government under the Fiji Affairs Government are committed to improving the well-being and living conditions of Fijian ratepayers. Madam Speaker, let me detail some of the achievements in these areas as we move towards our vision of smartest towns and cities. Madam Speaker, we live in a new realities. Instead of speaking negative about urban growth, we need to see it as an opportunity, a challenge, and a strong indicator of development and economic progress. And in order to capitalize on these indicators, as a starting point, we have embarked on the hiring of urban planning specialists to assess and upgrade our town planning schemes to reflect these new demands in how we plan and future-proof our towns and cities. We also need to align it with recent changes to the legislation under the 2016 Heritage Act, which needs to be incorporated into our town planning schemes. At the same time, Madam Speaker, we have established strong and accountable relationships with our municipal councils. This is testimony to the strong and progressive relationships between the central government, our ministry, and municipal councils. Instead of workshops and endless planning seminars, we have development of amenities, facilities, and streamlining of process on the ground within a very limited period. Madam Speaker, I speak from a wealth of experience in the area of local government, going back to 20 years of service in municipal councils. During this time, I was witness to many changes in local government administration and changes of government. But the rate of accelerated developments and achievements that I'm going to justify in my ministerial speech, I have never witnessed in all those years. Madam Speaker, these achievements are the result of a more corporate-oriented and bottom-line basis to council operations, rather than the politics of tug-of-war between different wards competing for services. The endless result, as indicated by the achievements that I'm about to document for this August House, are greater amenities and services for all Fijian ratepayers. You are quite right when you say that I was there. I'm talking about the difference, what happened then and what is happening now. Madam Speaker, let me briefly begin by looking at some of the achievements and capital projects for the two cities. Lautoka. Madam Speaker, the completion of Churchill Park upgrade with a total cost of 5.5 million, market extension at a cost of 1.4 million, and Madam Speaker, the groundbreaking of municipal swimming pool at Lautoka's Botanical Garden will take place next week. Madam Speaker, the upgraded Churchill Park, which was opened by our Honourable Prime Minister, includes new synthetic tracks. This inclusion, as mentioned by the Honourable Prime Minister in his opening speech, we shall see people in the Greater Western Division Viti level enjoy better athletic facilities and contribute to the sports development. Lautoka City Council also entered into the public-private partnership with PMACG and TAPUS. This is taking municipal councils into a new era of change and greatly increasing their revenue stream. Madam Speaker, this is the only way. Our councils are under increasing pressure to deliver more and more in amenities, facilities, infrastructure and services. At the same time, ratepayers obviously do not want increased rates, and we do not want to burden them with increased charges. Likewise, market vendors, taxi operators, carrier operators do not want increases in their fees and charges. So, Madam Speaker, this begs the question as to where will municipal councils get increased revenue? And the way forward will be sustainable and fiscally sound public-private partnership. This increased revenue stream will be of benefit to all the Fijian ratepayers, and we will increase our efforts to spread these triple P projects to all Fijian municipal councils. SUVA. Madam Speaker, the completion and opening of upgraded pavilion and TAFE facilities at Albert Park has done wonders for this iconic amenity. The difference, as they say, is clear. And we have many Suva residents and visitors to the capital enjoying the improved facilities. Work has commenced on the Suva Civic Center auditorium and lower hall upgrade in partnership with Guangdong Province. This is a significant international partnership for Suva City Council, and more projects are planned with Guangdong Province. Madam Speaker, I would also like to report that we had a very favorable response to expression of interest for the Central Street Car Park Public-Private Partnership redevelopment with a $60 million car park accommodation and sea view restaurant project proposed for the site. This proposal is now being assessed by the Suva City Council and their consultants. Let me now turn to some of our towns and present a report on their major projects, Madam Speaker, and let me begin with our two northern towns. Lambasa. Madam Speaker, a multi-purpose sport facility was opened at a cost of $90,000 and Subrel Park upgrade at a cost of $100,000. A major project for Lambasa is the long overdue relocation of market and bus station. Madam Speaker, we have begun the planning for this relocation and we expect this will ease current traffic congestion into the Lambasa CBD and provide a major boost for local growers and vendors with improved market facilities with more car parks. At the existing market, Madam Speaker, work on a temporary fish market and a grog shed had commenced last week. Sabu Sabu. Madam Speaker, the Ganilau Park upgrade, including fence, provision of 1,500-seater pavilion at a cost of $250,000 will be completed in June 2017. Redevelopment of Sabu Sabu Town Council Administration Center with a new event center and facilities. This will be a significant project that will better showcase the municipal council in this area of increased tourism activity. The council has also embarked on providing services and improving infrastructure at an informal settlement in Nakama. Madam Speaker, let me now turn to the remaining towns in the Central Division. Nassori. The new Nassori market is now regarded as the largest municipal market in the Pacific. In line with other municipal markets, the women's accommodation block is in the planning stage. The market and modern bus stand was built at a total cost of $13.3 million. The old market site will be developed through a public-private partnership into a mall. The multi-purpose sports center was opened earlier this year and was built at a cost of $250,000. Lemhi. Madam Speaker, Tikaram Park was completed and opened earlier this year to the public. It was built at a cost of $618,000. We can see that now it is made up into a major local attraction and amenity for the people of Lemhi. Madam Speaker, let me put this on record. This is the first major project for the town of Lemhi and the people of Lemhi. In addition, the Johnny Singh Park upgrade has commenced at the cost of $198,000. This is the first phase of the project and a second phase scheduled in the next fiscal year, where it will enable Lemhi to host competitions. Nasinu. Madam Speaker, I am pleased to report that works on the Valley Levy ground has commenced at a cost of $350,000. This will provide a much-needed designated sporting facility for the people of Nasinu. There is also a plan to build a stadium within the ground. The Langere market is now at the construction phase at a projected cost of 4.3 million. Labuka. Madam Speaker, our UN-listed heritage port town has had its town hall that was first commissioned in 1898, refurbished at a cost of $100,000. Foreshore upgrading works under the Japan aid at a cost of $225,000. Children's park upgrade at Nassau, $35,000, with an additional $25,000 spent on the mini pavilion. Madam Speaker, heading to West, we have a number of significant achievements and projects apart from what I have outlined earlier for Lautoka City. Sigatoka, multi-purpose sport facilities built at a cost of $113,000, ready to be opened, and the construction of retaining wall along Sigatoka River at a cost of $845,000. Madam Speaker, this retaining wall will both mitigate against flooding and provide increased river frontage land for development by the Council. Madam Speaker, talks have commenced on the market and bus station relocation as well. Nandi. Madam Speaker, Namaka Market Extension in Nandi with the Women's Accommodation Center with detailed plan is in approval stage at a cost of $4 million. Upgrade to Prince Charles Park is underway and will be ready in time to host part of the program for the Fiji Tourism Expo 2017. In addition, Madam Speaker, upgrade to the Nile Dice at a cost of $90,000 is in progress. Bar. Madam Speaker, in Bar, the completion of Fiji's first ever permanent horse race track at a cost of $220,000 has attracted major races. Madam Speaker, now the community organized regular races which attract around 80 to 90 horses per race. Civil and fencing works has commenced at the Maruru landfill at a cost of $380,000 following relevant environment impact studies. Works on Goving Park will start soon after it was damaged by the cyclone Winston. Tabua. Madam Speaker, Tabua multi-purpose sports facilities, which includes upgrading of Gavi Park with new floodlights and event center, has been completed at a cost of $630,000. Reki Reki. Madam Speaker, the construction of Reki Reki Market with a women's accommodation center has begun at a cost of $5.8 million. I hope Honorable Nico is drinking water. Because in the last sitting, he questioned me whether it will start or not. So it has started, Honorable Nico. Madam Speaker, in this roundup of achievements and projects of our municipal councils, I would like to point out all this has happened in the space of the last 2.5 years. Imagine, Madam Speaker. I want to reiterate. I would like to point out all this has happened in the space of the last 2.5 years. This is what Fiji Affairs government has given to the people and the ratepayers of this country. As I outlined in the beginning of my speech, Madam Speaker, this is a remarkable list of achievements. Madam Speaker, let me assure this House, these achievements will only increase in the coming months and days, as through the partnership of central government, ministry, and municipal councils, we will build on these achievements. Madam Speaker, with an aim to promote small and medium business in our town centers, municipal councils with the national government support and in partnership with UN Women are fully committed in the development of our municipal markets. Madam Speaker, our town centers have 8,289 market vendors selling local produce. These hard-working mothers and fathers need our assistance in order to have a decent livelihood. The Ministry of Local Government, Housing and Environment, in partnership with municipal councils, are totally committed to provide the best facilities for our farmers and market vendors. Madam Speaker, in addition, the process of getting a business license has been streamlined with municipal councils now issuing new business license within a maximum of 3 days, with instant license renewals in both cases subject to the applicant providing the necessary requirements documents. Madam Speaker, to promote good sanitation standards, the government and municipal councils have invested heavily in improving garbage collection and disposal through 15 garbage trucks distributed among the councils. In addition, municipal councils have a free quarterly cleanup program for ratepayers and citizens. The free cleanup is for green waste and white goods collection. Madam Speaker, this free quarterly cleanup program was introduced in 2015 and is a very successful program widely appreciated by the ratepayers. Madam Speaker, for the purpose of promoting clean and green environment, Municipal Council has appointed litter prevention officers, and municipal councils reported more than 5,000 litter bookings in 2016. Madam Speaker, this is apart from warnings issued by the litter officers. Madam Speaker, municipal councils have taken on event management as part of its community engagement. Municipal councils, township festivals are becoming popular, and we now have 12 township carnivals in Fiji, whose winners compete in the Miss Fiji pageant contest. Madam Speaker, Fiji will proudly host the Miss South Pacific Island pageant at Nandi at the end of the year. These are important community engagement events and provide significant uplift to the local economy. Madam Speaker, through these carnivals, there will be mass awareness program for all the Fijians on climate change. Each stage of the carnival will carry a theme that the contestant and organizers will act upon. Madam Speaker, municipal councils in partnership with the central government and private partners successfully organized the Centennial /5 celebration in 14 town centers last year. This will provide a platform for the increased heritage and cultural promotion through municipal councils. Madam Speaker, centers will again mark 14th 2017 as a day of remembrance, in particular for the women of indenture. Madam Speaker, this event coincides with Mother's Day. And Madam Speaker, let me take this occasion, as Parliament does not meet before the date, to wish in advance a happy Mother's Day to all. Madam Speaker, on Sunday, May 14, we will be organizing events remembering the hardships and sacrifice of the mothers, wives, daughters, and sisters under the indenture as part of a larger municipal family celebration in the centers. By hosting the mothers, wives, daughters, and sisters of Fiji and all Fijians on May 14, 2017, Madam Speaker, we will pay proper respect to those strong women who laid the foundation of our families and contributed towards the nation building under indenture. As part of the program, we will launch a number of initiatives and partnerships so that awareness, celebration, and education of Fiji's wider cultural heritage are an ongoing part of our municipal council calendar. This includes an important initiative, Madam Speaker, to include Itoki local history, culture, performance, and arts as part of an ongoing program among local councils. Madam Speaker, as part of this initiative, we will also include programs to celebrate the diverse multicultural nature of our municipalities. Where relevant, we will align these programs with the respective designated world and international days, Madam Speaker. This is an effective means of identifying areas of service shortfalls and working closely with all stakeholders to rectify these areas. We are moving in the direction of smarter cities, Madam Speaker, by employing sustainable and relevant technology to drive our process and bring in innovation. We have recently held consultation with the ADB team that has chosen the Greater Suva area from Lemi to Nassori for a global program along with 4 other cities in promoting the Smart City and Towns program. This will enable us to pilot smart technology in key identified areas. Madam Speaker, we initiated an amnesty and incentive program for our ratepayers for the first quarter of 2017 through the municipal councils. Madam Speaker, it is encouraging to note that our ratepayers took advantage of the program to pay their rates, and it has really helped them. Madam Speaker, may I take this opportunity to thank the ratepayers and the citizens of every municipality for working closely with their respective municipal councils. Madam Speaker, I'm also aware that there are some works delayed in respective municipalities, but I can assure that it will start soon. I'm also aware, Madam Speaker, that there are some areas within municipalities that needs improvement. I can assure this Honourable House that that will be done. Madam Speaker, on this note, I conclude my statement and wish to thank you for this opportunity. Inaka.
Thank you. I now call on the Leader of Opposition or designate to speak in response.
Madam Speaker, thank you. Firstly, I wish to bring to the attention of the Minister and the Minister for Lands of a problem that's happening in their neck of the woods to a place where we produce this water. There's a company there that's called Dials, who is extracting gravel without any license, I'm told, and despite a stop notice. It is a concern because we market to the world that we are producing this close to the environment, and Ramdayal is extraction is entirely contradictory to that. So if you can please look into that. Now to the statement, Madam Speaker. I always feel that before a minister comes here, you should be careful to ensure that your ministry is looked after well, is managed well, that you are performing, because otherwise, whatever you say here will affect your credibility. And that is the situation here. And Madam Speaker, I have the gift of vision, and my vision tells me that this minister will be out of here next year. As well as the government. They will be out because of non-performance. Non-performance. And let me give some examples in relation to this ministry. It says here partnership. What partnership? You don't have a partnership with the government. The government is dragging the municipalities by the balls. It's controlling by the balls, by the nuts. Yeah. And that is the situation. The Speaker should know that. The Honourable Minister should know that. He had a lot of experiences in this area. And it must have affected him, because he meant very well, very, very well indeed. Unless you have your independence, you can't say that you are acting independently. You can't talk of a partnership. You don't have a partnership. Of course, on the very first time, you promised elections. If you had the elections, then only can you come here and talk about partnership. But, if I may quote Honourable Tiko Dondua, the decision from that side is only limited to the two in front here. That's where your problem, that's your problem. Yeah. I know you meant well, because of all your experiences, you really wanted, the Honourable Minister really wanted to have elections. If the elections were held, then no problem. But there's no, and the municipalities have been used by this government for its own political reasons. And obvious. Let me give you an example. Look at this quarter settlement. The resolutions of squatter. If you were independent, you would have told the government that it should adhere to planning standards. Planning standards. Distances from this house to the next house. Make sure that roads are built. And Madam Speaker, I invite you to go to this place called Lendusasa. Lendusasa, and you will see that how all these planning standards have been sacrificed because the government is wanting to buy support. There's a road that goes like this and nearly hits a house. Then it turns that way. It's in Nandi, Madam Speaker. Please go there and you have a look at this. And you feel sorry. You feel sorry for that municipality. Yeah.
They listen to what you say.
Yeah.
You don't want them.
It's the standard. So what standard do you bring about here? You should stand for the principle. You should stand for the standards. You don't sell support. And that's all that they're doing there. Yeah. Because you did not have election. Now, he promised that he will have a review. When will you have the review? When will you have the review? No. There's a petition in Labasa, and it's still sitting there in the Fiji First. They complain that whatever you did there has not been used. The house that they were supposed to put in was for other things. It's just not happening. And if I can just end, the Honourable Minister had given this example of in Lautoka, Churchill Park. It's very, very dangerous to have a partnership with private companies. It breeds corruption. Because they will come back to you come back to you to demand, and that will happen. That's already happened. You were here to weed out corruption, now you're into it. Madam Speaker.
Point of order.
No. I'm not finished yet.
Point of order.
Madam Speaker, while responding, honourable member has alleged that there was a corrupt practice between Lautoka City Council, Tapus and PMHG. I want him to prove. If he can prove it, well and good. If not, he should withdraw right now. Thank you.
Because I said it breeds corruption. It breeds it. It breeds corruption.
You've been asked to withdraw the statement. Would you like to withdraw the statement, please?
No, Madam Speaker, because I said it breeds corruption.
I now give the floor to the leader of the National Federation Party or his designate to speak in response.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the Honourable Minister for his statement and also thank him for acknowledging my response to the Honourable Minister for Education. But let me remind him, Madam Speaker, what I said during the maiden speech. I said very clearly that we will acknowledge, we will support the government wherever we feel the policies are good, and that is what we have done. But we will also hold the government to account and also point out failed policies. Unfortunately, the minister's statement actually falls in that category of failed policies. It's actually quite hilarious, Madam Speaker, when I read the title of the ministerial statement, Municipal Council's Partnership. In fact, the minister probably has forgotten, I think he forgot when he left NFP, that the municipal councils mean elected representatives. What he should talk about is municipal administrators. This is the act. This is the act. Let me read this. Let me read this. The council of every municipality shall consist of such number of elected councillors as the electoral commission may from time to time by order determine. That is the definition of council. So there is no council. And I think Minister should stop talking about council. He should talk about municipal administrators. Yeah. Madam Speaker, that is the issue. And when you talk about partnership, and let me sort of remind the minister what he said in his maiden speech, and we've reminded him many times. He said his first priority was to have municipal elections. Then we asked him in 2015, he said there is a review. Then we asked him in 2016, he said the review is continuing. Madam Speaker, when I heard the Honourable Minister talking about the developments in various towns and cities, yes, there are developments that have taken place, but there are also developments that have been very questionable and have not been done with proper consultation with the ratepayers of all the towns and cities. When you talk about partnership, Madam Speaker, partnership means partnership with the ratepayers who pay the rate and the government. In this particular case, Madam Speaker, over the last so many years, the ratepayers have only paid their rates. They've had no say, absolutely no say in the management of the councils. And the only way you could have, the ratepayers could have a say, is to have municipal councils elected. And that is the point that this government doesn't understand. That partnership is with the representatives of the ratepayers, not the partnerships with the administrators that they appoint and they direct with the government. That is what should be the definition of partnership and not what the minister is saying. The other, this is very clear. Madam Speaker, maybe the Honourable Minister ought to return to his route now so that he can understand what the council is. Let me also remind him. Let me also remind him, Madam Speaker. Let me remind him that he was the one who wanted me to be the leader. Anyway. But let me let me come back to the point, Madam Speaker. When you create a situation where the ratepayers of this country have no say, absolutely no say. In fact, the administrators have no say, Madam Speaker. They have to go through him on every little decision. Where is the partnership? So, Madam Speaker, unless we have elected municipal councils in place, this government has no authority to say that there is a partnership. They cannot claim to have a partnership. That is the bottom line, Madam Speaker, and I hope, in fact, I feel that what the Minister has been saying is a precursor. In fact, my prediction is that they will not have an election. They will review the Act and abolish the elected council. That's my prediction, and I hope I'm wrong. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I now call on the Minister for Industry, Trade and Tourism to deliver his statement.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Honourable Prime Minister, Honourable Ministers, Honourable Leader of Opposition and Honourable Members of Parliament. Before I actually deliver my statement, I just need to quickly say a few things about something that was just raised. Madam Speaker, with respect to squatters, I think what needs to be said is that one of the very reasons why we do have so many squatters is because of the shenanigans of the past. Madam Speaker, but because of the politics and the shenanigans of the past, because of the non-renewal of leases that occurred before. But, as we've said earlier, Madam Speaker, this government is taking care of the squatters. Whether it takes us a year or 2 years or 3 years, we will take care of the squatters, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, with respect to the river gravel extraction issue that was just raised by my friend, I'm aware of it. We have put a stop work notice on them, and I will give you a full report on Thursday with respect to that. And also, Madam Speaker, in defense of my fellow Minister Bala, if somebody wants to talk about roots, maybe they should remember that the tree that was born by the NFP no longer exists, Madam Speaker. That very tree is gone, Madam Speaker. That tree that was planted by 3 gentlemen is gone. Doesn't exist, Madam Speaker. That's the and I should know, Madam Speaker. I should know. Madam Speaker, this statement is with respect to the Ministry of Lands and Mineral Resources. Madam Speaker, the Ministry, through the Department of Lands, is responsible for the effective and efficient administration, development and the management of all state lands. And one of the key roles of the department is to carry out what is called cadastral surveys of leased state lands, including regularizations of informal settlements for issues of lease titles. In addition to these, Madam Speaker, cadastral surveys, the survey section is also responsible for controls for cadastral and topographic mapping, extensions and maintenance of existing trigonometrical survey network and triangulation, and also upgrading of the National Geodetic Datum Framework. Madam Speaker, the Geodetic Datum is a coordinate system and a set of reference points to locate places on Earth. And the datum is what allows applications like the GPS system to operate. And Fiji's the geodetic datum system is currently a little bit out of date when compared to international standards, and so it affects the accuracy of it. The Ministry, Madam Speaker, has therefore undertaken an initiative to upgrade the National Geodetic Framework in order to address the growing demand for more precise positioning frameworks. Now, the national framework is also essential for very effective decision making. In addition, it is a vital underpinning infrastructure which is applied in the areas of national hazard and disaster management, sea level and climate change monitoring, sustainable management and development of earth resources, spatial data interoperability, land management, and also mapping and navigation by society at large every day. As Madam Speaker, as we speak, it has been used to try and locate the persons that have been gone adrift on a boat, which my fellow minister just mentioned. So it's something that's in use every day. Madam Speaker, the Ministry continues to deliver the initiatives of the Fiji First government, which includes the regularization of the occupations of all squatters throughout Fiji, Madam Speaker. This month alone, the Honourable Prime Minister issued 21 approval notices to the Nauru and Kinoya informal settlers, which brings the number of approval notices issued so far to 238 in the Western, Central, Eastern and Northern divisions. In the next financial year, Madam Speaker, the Ministry is planning to issue an additional 126 approval notices in the respective divisions as follows. Within the Central Eastern Division, we're looking about 39 approval notices for Wainandoi, informal settlement in Navua. For the Northern Division, there's 60 approval notices for informal settlements of Vitandram, Bodha, Valamasanga and Avua in Madhuata and Vanuatu. In the Western Division, 26 approval notices for Ngoro in Rakiraki and Waimari informal settlement in Rakiraki. Madam Speaker, I'd also like to highlight to this House that the Ministry is also progressing work on the renewal of the leases that have expired. And so far, 788 leases have been renewed. These are the ones which do not have any complications in terms of estate administration issues. A bulk of the expired leases, Madam Speaker, that have not been renewed are basically due to two major reasons. And some of them are because the lessees have yet still to indicate in writing whether they would like to renew their leases or not as per the condition of their leases, or the lessees have actually passed away and there are pending complicated estate administration issues that the close families of the deceased lessees are still not able to resolve. However, the Ministry, Madam Speaker, is vigorously working towards renewing all expired leases by the end of the financial year, next financial year. Madam Speaker, furthermore, the Ministry of Land's contribution towards the government's Look North policy is currently progressing with the development of the Nayada subdivision, which includes the issuance of leases for the new Damodar City for Lombasa, FNU campus, a service station, and the creation of more commercial lots for development. And this will enable a whole lot of more job opportunities for the North and access to higher education for the people in the North. Madam Speaker, also, in my last statement, I had elaborated on the film production that had taken place in the Malolo Islands in Nandronga, and in particular the process that was undertaken to secure the consent for the waiver of the traditional fishing rights. I also briefed this Honourable House on the assessment of the compensation quantum for the loss of traditional fishing rights and the economic benefits that this film production brought to the local communities of Fiji and Fiji as a whole. Madam Speaker, I'm glad to bring to the attention of this House that foreign interests of film productions in Fiji continue to rise. And Madam Speaker, currently there are two series currently being shot on our shores. There's the French Survivor series presently being filmed at the Isawa Island Resort and Isawa Group, and Wrecked Season 2 at Nandiri Bay, Malomalo in Nandronga. These particular activities will no doubt contribute tremendously to our GDP and provide job opportunities, Madam Speaker, to all Fijians and small businesses, or small business opportunities for the locals. Currently, all the processes that I've alluded to earlier, Madam Speaker, have been executed and complied with before the Ministry of Lands and Mineral Resources issues letters of approval to these foreign film companies. Madam Speaker, having mentioned about the increasing demand of our foreshore for film productions, I'd also like to update this House on the mangrove management plan. This plan, and as I had mentioned earlier on, Madam Speaker, will become the first mangrove management policy that will govern the whole spectrum of foreshore development. And this proposed mangrove management plan will embrace the following areas. It will actually embrace mangrove loss. It will embrace carbon sequestration in the mangroves. It will embrace establishing the total area estimate of mangroves in Fiji, the rate of mangrove loss and the impacts of dredging, soils dumping on mangroves, Fiji forest policy and the role of the Ministry of Forests, the linking of mangroves management to the environmental impact assessment process and the regulation of developments on foreshore, and establishing means of mangrove ecosystem valuation to assist in the determination of fair compensation value for the loss of traditional fishing rights and ownership of the rights of the fishing grounds. Also, a description of the biodiversity mangrove offset as an option in decision making. monitoring of compliance to environment impact assessment conditions, mangrove and traditional fishing rights owners, and preparation plans for mangrove conversion and retention in urban areas. These are the areas that will be looked at, Madam Speaker. Working hard towards getting it completed as soon as possible. The current state is that it's actually sitting, as we speak now this week, we'll be having a meeting with the Solicitor General's office to see if we can finalize it. Madam Speaker, another role of the ministry is to undertake all valuation works for the government, which includes valuation and negotiation of ground rentals for all state leases on Itoke land under the Itoke Lands Act. The valuation division of the ministry, Madam Speaker, has taken a proactive role by identifying dormant leases. A total of 9 inactive leases are under a surrender process now for reversion to Itoke Land Trust Board and the landowning units. And this includes the Vanumbalavu Biofuel Project, the Wailotua Agricultural Station in Wainimbuka, Nuku Seismographic Station in Serua, the Bichules Agricultural Station in Waindina, the Tangare Seismographic Station in Namosi, and the Nadao Seismographic Station in Wainimala, the Ovea Agricultural Quarters in Tailevu, the Nyala Agricultural Quarters, and Wainunu Seismic Station in Boa. Madam Speaker, we have also applied for renewal of 10 Itoke land leases to state lease after proper consultations with the occupants and official advice received from relevant ministries. And this includes the 3 cocoa cooperatives in the north, namely Kendra in Domatuki, Kumbuna in Savsavu, and Singawe and Namoe Voivoi Bua. Madam Speaker, with the recent publicity on environmental impact of activities involving the mineral development sector, the Minerals Department has put in place measures to ensure environmental protection and sustainable development of our mineral resources. An environmental division has been set up and resourced with qualified staff specialized in the mining and mineral sector. The division undertakes inspection and monitoring to ensure that there are no breaches in regulations. And the department is also currently reviewing the Mining Act and mineral policy. Minerals development, Madam Speaker, is a sector that has a huge economic potential for Fiji in terms of ensuring that these resources are developed sustainably. The ministry recognizes the need to formulate a policy and upgrade operating procedures. With respect to the river gravel extraction management guidelines and the environmental management guidelines, there are 2 proposals that will be tabled in Cabinet to assist in managing and regulating this particular sector. Madam Speaker, the department will also endeavour to conduct workshops in mining and the quarrying sector with landowners to enable them to have the necessary skills and be qualified at a certificate level to work within that particular sector. And I know this is something that may come up a little later, but Madam Speaker, with respect to the Batukola situation, I will be speaking on it in a day's time, probably on Thursday. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Lands and Mineral Resources is committed fully to supporting the policies and the initiatives of the Fiji First Government and will persevere to ensure sustainable development and management of the state's natural resources. The ministry's agenda recognizes the lasting prosperity and our nation's ongoing well-being and comes through embracing every relevant stakeholder with all new and better ways of doing things so that we can secure a better future for the generations to come, Madam Speaker. And I thank you very much.
Thank you. And I call on the Leader of Opposition or the designate to speak in response.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to acknowledge and thank the Honourable Minister for his ministerial statement. Madam Speaker, this is the third time in the last 2 sessions that a ministerial statement had been issued on these subjects. I don't blame the Honourable Minister because he had so many portfolios. If he spent enough time in the ministry, he would have had a better understanding of the technical and operational system of the Ministry of Lands. On the question of squatters, Madam Speaker, squatters represent a large number of voters, and no government had the political will to address this squatter problem.
Only Fiji First.
No. Fiji First, what Fiji First is doing is carrying out an easy way out of addressing the squatter problem. I want to reiterate what my fellow parliamentarian had said, that the quality of the subdivisions where these approval notices have been issued is very poor. They don't adhere to the town planning requirements because of the size of the lots, the sizes of the roads, and all the other requirements. All what they had, the government is promoting these issues of issuing these approval notices to squatters, but the thing is they never contributed any capital development on this settlement to increase the livelihood of the people that are living there. All what they do is issue them approval notice, but they continue to live in these squalid conditions. Madam Speaker, I would like to reiterate what I had said earlier in this House, that squatter, the regularizing of squatter occupants is encouraging more squatters squatting on state land all over the country. I say this, Madam Speaker, because there is a process of applying for a state lease. If the lot is identified and should be advertised, those that apply, the applications are properly scrutinized, that they do not have any other property or they have a regular income to be able to pay for the annual rent and build a decent home. Most of the squatters would definitely not meet the requirements of this lands department. And that's the very reason why they go and squat. They want to bypass the system because they know they don't qualify. And that is encouraging other people to go and squat. On the development and management of all state land, Madam Speaker, I want to reiterate again that the core function of the Ministry of Land is to administer all the state lands in the country. With the capability of the GIS system that's within the ministry, it should be able to identify all the state lands and those that have been developed and leased and the vacant ones. They should pursue development programs for the vacant land so that the land could be developed for their highest and best use. This is done, Madam Speaker, with all the budget requirement. It will avoid people squatting on vacant land. That will avoid people to squat on vacant land. On the lease renewal, Madam Speaker, as you know, leases have a definite beginning and a definite ending. So, with the capability of the GIS system in the Lands Department, they should bring up all the files of leases that will expire in 2 to 1 year, so that it gives enough time for the workers to work on the process and also inspect the land for any breach of the lease conditions. So there is no reason at all for some of the leases to be not to be renewed on time. So the system is here, Madam Speaker, and all what has to be done is people to be trained to understand the system so that all these things are carried out properly. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Now call on the leader of the NFP or his designate to speak in response.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I like to thank the Minister for his statement, and let me just remind him at the outset that the NFP tree will always stand, come hell or high water, and one day you all might look to find refuge under that tree. Madam Speaker, I thank the Minister for at least looking at the issue of mangroves and forestry development by a concerted effort and a holistic approach to the whole mangrove and forestry settlements. Madam Speaker, it is no secret that we have two types of squatter settlements. One is, as rightly observed, that the squatters who are there were forced into squatter settlements by non-renewal of leases of cane land. And Madam Speaker, the others are, and these people were there to fend for themselves. No one looked after them, and they had no choice but to move into this settlement. And the other is where leasehold landlords accommodated them on their land, and they have been treated as squatters as well. So there are many issues that remain unresolved. Yes, these are the letters I'm talking about. And I'm referring to contentious issues, Madam Speaker, arising out of the Ministry's decision to issue leases and licenses that are required for work or development to be carried out on state leases. Secondly, no statistics have been provided on the so-called results of the efficiency of the Lands Ministry in terms of improving productivity, improving livelihood, and even improving and boosting agriculture where agricultural leases on state land are concerned. Unfortunately, this regularization process seems to be flawed in both in terms of state land and native land leases. It is not a proper lease that is issued, Madam Speaker, which residents can use to borrow money, or it is not a bankable document. And it's only recently, the Honorable Attorney General had wanted commercial lending institutions to accept approval to lease documents as a bankable document. Therefore, Madam Speaker, this whole issue of regularization squatter land leases is not being done holistically. Madam Speaker, when such leases are issued, how long does the Ministry of Land take to issue proper leases? Does the Ministry act instantly on the lease notices issued by a government? Or does it wait for the residents to fulfill obligations such as proper survey, as required of other tenants to process further documentation? These are issues that need clarification, Madam Speaker, because common sense dictates that one arm of government complements the other as swiftly as possible to ensure the objectivity of any policy implementation is achieved in the shortest possible time. Madam Speaker, the Minister has not provided statistics on how many leases on state land are new leases, renewed leases, leases reissued to sitting tenants, or leases issued to new tenants. And what has been the criteria of leases being issued to new tenants in favor of sitting tenants reapplying for leases? We know that productivity of land is a major consideration in the issuance of leases. But, Madam Speaker, in many cases, sitting tenants have been unable to be productive because of circumstances beyond their control, like personal tragedies, illness, or incapacity and inability to ensure the land is productive due to lack of resources. And I know of many tenants who have overcome their challenges only to lose their leases to others because the Ministry decided to ignore their plight and explanation and award new leases to others. There has been no consideration from a humanitarian point of view. I am restricted from naming them, but they know who they are. And I have received major complaints, or many complaints on this issue. One wonders, Madam Speaker, to ensure that such aggrieved tenants are not disenchanted, there has to be an investigation to determine the circumstances in the issuance of leases. This is to ensure that nepotism and cronyism wasn't the criteria used to issue leases to new tenants over sitting ones. I'm also aware that complaints were made either to Honourable Minister or the Lands Ministry staff, but these have fallen on deaf ears. In one case in Reki, the Ministry decided to award the lease to one brother after his other sibling died, despite the family residing on the land for over 2 generations. This has caused a family dispute with the leaseholder now threatening to evict his brother's widow and family from the land. The family claims that no investigation or survey of the land was done by the Ministry before deciding on the issue.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, honourable members. That brings to an end all items in today's order paper, and I thank you most sincerely for your participation in today's proceedings. Parliament is now adjourned until tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. Thank you. Thank you, honourable members.